Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by Sean Little at Chicago Flow. He's from MSG Networks, and Brandon Anderson, NBA futures analyst for the Action Network. You can catch him at Wheaton Brando in the Action Network app, where he's got a ton of bets for Game 7 that we're going to go and get in the lab for on today's show. We're going to talk a little bit about where the series are at, West, East, give some big picture perspectives on it, but we're going to focus in on, all right, what's the ramifications so you can know going in and out of Game 7 or 6, depending on what happens. We're recording this on Friday afternoon for Celtics-Knicks Game 6. How should you be looking going forward on some future plays, finals MVP, conference finals MVP, etc. We'll talk about that today. And then Brandon's going to give you best bets for Game 7 Nuggets Thunder on Sunday. Sean and I will weigh in and help him kind of like sort through these and figure them out. And then tomorrow on Saturday at 12 Eastern, Buckets Live with me and Brandon Kravitz. We'll give best bets for Game 7 Nuggets Thunder, including I will give you the MPJ lowdown, because that's been dynamite for us in this series. So we'll talk about the lidocaine cap in Game 7. You'll have to tune in though for
the lidocap
for Game 7 best bets on Saturday morning or noon if you're on the East Coast. It's 10 o'clock Mountain for me on youtube.com/the Action Network. So make sure that you check that episode out. Okay. Let's talk about the Western Conference. Nuggets get the win last night to stave off elimination and force a Game 7 versus the Thunder, and what I think was honestly might have been not the Nuggets' best game of the postseason, but it's up there. They got a great Jokic game. They got a really good Murray game, despite him having the flu. They got multiple bench contributions. They got a great game from Julian Strawther hitting shots and Peyton Watson making defensive plays. They limited the amount of points off of turnovers that they allowed, so the OKC Thunder couldn't get ahead of them there. They outclassed them in the clutch. They got bad shooting games from Lou Dort, etc. And so now it's a Game 7 with the young kids facing this experienced team in Denver that is on, I mean this pretty seriously, one leg. Aaron Gordon comes up with a hamstring at the end of Game 6. Aaron was not in the locker room when it opened because he was already in treatment. Aaron's usually in the locker room chilling on his phone. After the game, he was already in treatment. Now, Aaron spoke with the media and said he was going to do everything possible to get ready for this game. He's hopeful to be able to play. I think it's probably likely that he plays and just isn't able to go as much. His risk of re-injury is very high here. Like, this is a hamstring injury, and typically what happens is you try and play through it because your team's up against it and they need you, and then it winds up getting worse. So not a great spot there with the Aaron Gordon situation. If you want to bet Nuggets going in, you need to be aware of how that's a major factor that would give me considerable pause. Brandon, I think what I want to start here is from a betting confidence standpoint. What has the series done for your confidence in OKC? What has the series done for your confidence in Denver?
I don't think I have confidence in anything in this series right now. I don't know if I'm certainly not confident in OKC. They are being priced like a typical home Game 7 favorite would be, as pretty heavy favorites, as what you would expect the 1 seed Game 7 to be. And I thought after last night, coming out of the game, okay, great. Game 7, not a coin flip, but they're going to have to price in that OKC is 1 game away from elimination. We're finally going to get a good price on OKC futures. And the markets open up and are like, nah, we're going to bump it like 10, 15 cents from before the game, but they're still going to win the series. They're still going to win the whole thing. We're giving you nothing. I can't get there on the book's confidence in OKC. I thought there finally would be an opportunity. I texted you and Raheem last night as the game was wrapping up. I think the Game 7 play is just Shea Finals MVP and Jokic Finals MVP. Just get both sides, and whoever wins, Sunday's the championship game, and then we'll just play the rest out for the next month after that. Books aren't giving us that. Like, I can't get there in the numbers on either direction. I feel much better about Denver conceptually. Like, I think I was wrong. This is not a one-man team. Jamal Murray has looked really good at times. Aaron Gordon has been awesome. Christian Brown has had great moments. Russ has certainly had moments and other moments, but that's the Russ experience. MPJ is gritting it out. I want the Denver DVD. I think this has been an awesome Denver run, but I think Denver's live to win the game here much more than books are giving them. I literally don't know if Denver would be alive a month from now. Like, who's left? We're running out of bodies over here. Aaron Gordon is hurt now. And okay, either I don't really get him in game 7, or I do, but I probably get a hampered version the rest of the playoffs because of it. MPJ, his shoulder is just what it is at this point. We'll get the LIDA update, whatever just term we made up for it, on Saturday's episode. Jamal, we didn't know if he was going to play in game 6 right up until an hour before because he was sick. I don't know what's happening with that. Is that a one-time thing, or is that a game 7 carryover? The team is coming off, even in a win, the team comes off back-to-back game 7s going forward. And we always talk about how much all that attrition adds up. It's already added. You can see it on all of the players' bodies. Everybody except Jokic and Russ, because Westbrook is just nothing left out there. So, in theory, on paper, Denver survives here. I like them. I like their chances against Minnesota in a revenge spot. I love them against any option I can get out of the East at this point. But I don't get Denver on paper. I get the paper has been accidentally put into the shredder, and then we pulled it out halfway, and it's dangling pieces. That's the Denver that's left. So I've lost confidence. I don't know. I believe these are the two best teams we've seen so far. I believe Sunday should be the championship. As a fan of NBA history that wants the right team to be the champion and represent a season, I think it's who wins Sunday. I don't know if I have confidence in either one of the teams to get another month from there.
Sean, I love that I asked Brandon a question and I got a 5-minute answer that results in I don't know. The most Brandon thing possible. So, Sean, here's a question I have for you. Brandon's sentiment has been echoed by a lot of people on social media of this is the NBA Finals. These are the two best teams. It's Yoke, it's Shea. These are the best two. What this reminds me of is one last year with people thinking the Wolves and the Nuggets were the NBA Finals. And then 2, Bills, Chiefs, any iteration that you want to go to.
That's interesting.
Where it's this is the Super Bowl. No, actually, it wasn't. The Super Bowl is the Super Bowl, and it turns out you got to win the next game. You can come back in 13 seconds versus the Bills. Sorry, Matt Mitchell, but you are going to have to beat the Bengals and Joe Burrow in the next round. With Mahomes probably having a concussion. So this is my big question, Sean. At DraftKings right now, and I don't have the other numbers up because I haven't looked at all the markets for this. Shea's -110 Finals MVP. If the Thunder win Game 7, that number will never be back again, potentially. Potentially, that's the last time that we will ever see a number as low for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You definitely won't see it until after Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Right. And if they win that game, now all of a sudden, boy, it's going to be so much to get a better number than that. On the other hand, Anthony Edwards is +230. The Wolves are going to get one of these teams who are not only going to be beat to hell, but are going to be so emotionally exhausted. The Wolves last year, one of the biggest reasons that I loved the Mavericks last year in the Western Conference Finals was not just the matchup advantage for Dallas in that series. It was that I was in the Wolves press conference after they won Game 7, and the joy and relief on their faces for beating the champs was palpable. And if OKC knocks off Denver, they're going to be like, we did it! We did it! We won a close series versus Jokic! And they're going to be gassed in Game 1. Now, they're home, which is an advantage here. It's much better than going on the road. But Minnesota, on the other hand, is just hanging out. Fully healthy, no major injuries. They took 2 from OKC this season. They took all 4 from Denver. So my question, Sean, Wolves, Thunder, You can say Nuggets if you want to. Shea, Ant, Jokic. What's the Finals MVP? Where's the value here at this point?
A lot to unpack from both you guys. You guys are the fucking best, man. I love talking this stuff with you guys. It's so intriguing. I think the value is on Shea because I still believe in the Thunder, and I think that they can get it done against the Nuggets, and I think they get it done against Minnesota. To talk on one of the things you just laid out, we just had that same conversation about a week ago. Minnesota's hanging out. The Golden State Warriors are coming off one-day rest in a Game 7. This is such a great spot to back Minnesota. How could they lay an egg here? What did they do? They get dusted off in Game 1 of that series. So, as we've talked about on this very podcast, it's very hard to trust the Minnesota Timberwolves when they're hanging out, regardless of what a typical spot would be where you would want to back those guys. I think Julius Randle is playing over his head. For how good he's been, he's playing over his head, and I think he bumps into a lot of problems if he does end up playing OKC. So the Finals MVP value for me would be SGA, and clearly he's going to get additional residue. Even if Jalen Williams shows up in the Western Conference Finals and plays just as good, if not better than SGA, there'll be a little residue from what about the last round when you stunk it up. So SGA is going to have every lever to be given the MVP, regardless of kind of how the rest of his teammates play if they win the Western Conference Finals on top of being the MVP. And when we're talking about what's at stake for SGA, if they could win the title, we're talking about leading the league in scoring, MVP, the championship, the Western Conference Finals MVP, the best record in the league. This is a season at stake for SGA that will go down as one of the best ever put together when we're talking about hardware and just overall leading that group. So I think the value is on SGA at -110. You guys know my saying. If I think the number will never exist again, that's when I print the slip, and I think that's what's going on here with SGA in the Western Conference Finals. To go back to BA, the books were never gonna give a favorable number off of the futures market, but I think people, the market and books are speaking a little bit with the number for Game 7. Game 5 in Oklahoma City was 10.5 in favor of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the number didn't budge, didn't move. There was no doubt in anybody's mind they were going to go home and get that W. Now, they get the W, don't cover the number. Now, the number opens 8 in Game 7. It's down to 7. So, if you're not getting a favorable number on perhaps Oklahoma City Thunder winning the title or winning the West altogether, they are starting to lose a little trust in the market on individual games. I know it's a closeout. I think it's big that there's 2 games here, 2 days of rest in between for the Denver Nuggets to get to OKC and have that extra day. I think that's massive. But when we're talking about what's left of the Denver Nuggets, it's true, but someone has to pick up the slack here for Oklahoma City as well. I was going to war in my DMs. I've been arguing about this forever, all year long, that the Oklahoma City Thunder, those additional guys are ready. When we're talking about trust factor, it's plummeting for me. They don't seem to be ready because when Oklahoma City, well, first of all, SGA picking up his 4th foul to close that, to go down the stretch in that second quarter, maybe costs them. It's an idiotic play for SGA to pick up the 4th foul there. Coming down the stretch of that second quarter, I thought if they could get into half up double digits, which it looked like they were going to cruise to, Denver was in real deep trouble. For them to close down that second quarter, that run in a 12-3, and the only reason it was a 12-3 run is because Dort hit a 3 at the buzzer in the corner to get into half. I think it's a completely different game. The fouls for SGA and him forced to being played minutes in the third quarter heightened quite a bit when they cut it to 3 before the half. So as much as the Denver Nuggets are hanging on And miss me with the AG hamstring talk at the moment because, as BA mentioned, I thought Jamal Murray had 110-degree fever the way that this was being spoken about coming into the game. He was fine, perfectly fine. So, as Matt mentioned, AG's already getting treatment immediately after the game. And the number goes from 8 to 7. Be very weary if a big part of your cap going into this game is, oh, well, AG's hamstring is blown out, and I'm going to go ahead and back them for that reason. So a lot of different stuff going on. But BA mentions, my last point here, BA mentions what's left of the Nuggets. I trust Murray. I trust a few more of their guys at the moment than I do the Oklahoma City Thunder and Jalen Williams and the rest of the guys offensively. Now, if this could just be a classic, we were in Denver, they lost. Now we go to Oklahoma City, they're at home, the role players play better, they win. It could be that simple. We'll find out. But to answer both of the questions laid out by Matt Moore, my trust is plummeting in the role players that I was beating my chest for in Oklahoma City, and the best value on the board. Still, I like the Thunder to win, and the best value is SGA for Western Conference Finals MVP.
I don't know if I'm more encouraged by the fact that the Thunder have had to win close games, more discouraged by the fact that they only have one blowout in this series, because they should have multiple. I don't know really how to read that, where it's like, it's good that they got crushed in clutch time in 1 and 3, responded in 4 and 5, won closer games, and then game 6 they trailed for almost the entirety of the game. And so that to me is like is okay. Denver had game 2 was OKC's best punch, they win by 30 or whatever. Game 6 is Nuggets best punch, they win by a handful, was within range for a while but never really within, like, the Thunder couldn't get a grip on them even with that late surge. So that, like, what does that mean for game 7? Is OKC really going to have one blowout win in this series with how much better they are across the board as far as, like, a team profile? And it might just be like, yeah, you know why? Because the Nuggets are stubborn, and the Nuggets are tough, and the Nuggets are difficult, and the Nuggets have Jokic, and the Nuggets, Brandon, you've I think it's been good on you to kind of admit, like, I cap this as a one-man team. One-man teams don't win, and they've gotten those other guys. They haven't gotten it enough for them to get out of a series in less than 7, but they've gotten enough guys to force a game 7 versus the number 1 team. I do want to send this trend, and we'll talk more about this on Saturday's show, but I do want to give these trends out. So the game 7, it's like, oh, home teams win. The problem is that's
Hold
true.
on. Before we get to the game 7, can I weigh in on the MVP thing before we move past it too much?
Yeah, you're right. I was going to ask you on that anyway. Give me what you think about Shea versus Ant versus Yoke.
Well, and to what you were just saying too, Matt, so Denver is led by at least 6 points into the fourth quarter, 3 straight games right now. So that's what I'm asking myself too, is, okay, you saw, if you're listening, you probably follow me on Twitter. You saw me after the game, after game 5. So game 4 and 5, OKC's trailing into the fourth quarter. It comes back and wins 2 games in a row. And I posted something like, Oklahoma City just won the championship. It won't be official for a month, but they just won the championship. They did it 2 in a row. They took the punch. They got to the 12th round. They responded. They hit the knockout punch. That was enough for me. So why is my confidence shaken now? Well, because we got to another game and they're trailing again. So we're now 3 games in a row where every game I watched before game 6, I thought Oklahoma City was the much better team and should have been ahead by more, but kept being not ahead by more except for the one blowout. Like, oh, they're ahead by 10, but it feels comfortable. Oh, it's close again. Oh, Denver made a run. Oh, Denver's ahead in the fourth quarter. That's not great. Like, that's a real sample that we have to consider. I think, like, to what you said, okay, we've had 4 close games, and we've had the one most comfortable Denver win and the one most comfortable OKC win. Okay, well, the comfortable OKC win was by, like, 40 points. The comfortable Denver win took the Julian Strother game and the Christian Brown game. Let's not forget, he was awesome. And Aaron Gordon had 7 assists, 5 in, like, the first 5 minutes of the game. And Jamal has the flu game and puts up, like, half his points in the first quarter. And Yoke still has a good game. Like, it took all of those things. And by the way, J-Dub, 3 of 16, being horrible from the field offensively. Like, it took a whole bunch of Denver things and some bad OKC things for Denver to finally kind of comfortably win. And they still couldn't totally comfortably win. OKC pushed them enough that AG hurt his hamstring with 3 minutes left and might have gotten the Game 7 win with one last gasp push there. So I think from that standpoint, our confidence should still feel okay about Oklahoma City, because it took all of that for Denver to finally get a comfortable win. We should feel like in most scenarios, the worst outcome OKC looks at in a Game 7 at home is to at least have a shot late. And I think there are a lot of scenarios where they do get the blowout win, where it finally is, you know what, Denver wasn't a one-man team, but they are now. Nobody is left. There's nothing left around him, and Yo can't do it all. The scary part watching Oklahoma City is it feels in this series like they're the one-man team, because J-Dub is not showing up and Chet has not been great, and we're not really sure, like, can Dort stay on the court? Depends on the game. So that's all the scary things are there. Here's where I want to spin it to MVP. I think because you're coming out, like all the stuff that you said, Matt, about the emotional letdown coming off of this game, and for both sides, either way. And we know all the trends. We'll get to the trends, both series now, about the team coming off of Game 7 and Game 1. Our old colleague, Raheem Palmer, will have all the stats for that. It did not work this round, as Sean said, but it still is a pretty good trend to know that these Game 7 teams, if indeed we get there in the East, we don't know yet, but at least we'll have the one. It's not great. So to Sean's point, I don't know that this is necessarily the biased lowest spot on Shea or Oklahoma City. I think at the very least, even if you don't really like Minnesota or like the matchup there, we have a pretty good reason to believe either Minnesota takes Game 1, and now Oklahoma City is down 0-1, and we're going to get a price like this again, a buy low-ish moment again, or I don't really think we think Oklahoma City would go 2-0 at home. So then they maybe go 1-1, and now Minnesota takes Game 3, and now Minnesota's up 2-1 after that. And again, you get, like, I think there are, because we got here to Game 7, I think that there's going to be a spot that Oklahoma City trails in the next series, if they get there, that we would get this shot again.
Okay.
So I think that I don't think it has to be now or never. That said, I pulled up our NBA futures, the thing that has all actionnetwork.com/NBA/futures. This is where I live in this season, because it has all our stuff there. There is a stray finals MVP on Shea right now at DraftKings at plus 150. I thought it had to be a mistake, because all our other stuff is showing anywhere from 100 to 120. At DraftKings, I'm on DraftKings, it's plus 150.
Yeah, it is.
That's 40% implied for, like, I don't, like, the Thunder winning the title is a Shea finals MVP bet. Like, there's like a 1% chance otherwise that they don't. 40%, even with a little bit of my skepticism, 40% I'm not sure you're going to get a better chance at. And that might be the way to go. If you do want to bet MVP, Matt, you mentioned the Western MVP odds. You can bet which conference wins the title. And the West is like minus 250 or minus 300 everywhere right now. All the books say, Sean, I'm sorry, I know about the Knicks and everything. All the books say the West is going to plummet whoever comes out of the East. Plummet? Pummel. All the books think the West wins. So if you agree with that, you shouldn't be betting West MVP. You should be betting the West MVP as your finals MVP. That's the real bet, because that's the escalator version of it. So let me propose a bet to you right now. Shea's plus 150. Matt, I know you love Ant. You already bet him. At FanDuel, he's plus 650. If we don't think Denver can necessarily make it another month, and we just want Oklahoma City, Minnesota to win the title, if you bet Shea plus 150, Ant plus 650, that's an implied 53%. You're getting a minus 115 bet on either Oklahoma City or Minnesota to win the title right now. And that sounds pretty good to me. You're getting a straight bet, basically, on Ant or Shea finals MVP as what books think is the huge favorite.
Yeah, the Boston side of this, which we'll get to in a second, is like, this is the tough part for me. Is like, if Boston gets out of this series, I get really confused. I just get really confused. But that's probably me overthinking it and galaxy branding it as I am wont to do. And so, yeah, I think this is betting both of those numbers are the best number right now is probably the move. I was on Western Conference Finals MVP, so I apologize for that earlier. At DraftKings, it's SGA plus 150, Ant plus 500 for Finals MVP. If you could tell me right now, and like the odds obviously say it, the Knicks got to win 1 game out of 2 versus the Celtics with no Tatum. If you could tell me like the Eastern Conference Finals is Pacers Wolves or Pacers Knicks, then yeah, I want the West all of a sudden now. I was all in on the East until this round, and then their pets' heads fell off. And if it's Pacers Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, oh yeah. I think this is definitely the play. I think the move is not either one. You're right, Brandon. I think it's to bet both at the best number available. I think you're right on Finals MVP. Let's go to the Eastern Conference because there's time to talk about the trends when we get to best bets. Let's talk about the Eastern Conference. And let's talk about this, which is, okay, we don't know what's going to happen tonight. This podcast is going to go up, and by the time you hear this, the Knicks will have either won and secured their trip to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since, Sean?
1999 or 2000.
God. Shout out Allen Houston. Or the Celtics will force Game 7, and every Knickerbocker fan's backside is going to pucker, and Brandon Anderson is going to smell blood in the water with Boston against this team that he loathes in the New York Knicks. We do have an advanced lineup, though. We have an advanced lineup for the Eastern Conference Finals if the Knicks advance. Knicks are minus 125, Pacers plus 105. The most likely correct score, the lowest odds is Knicks in 7 at plus 400. This is DraftKings. Series spread, the lowest number is Pacers plus 1.5 games at minus 195. The books are like, we don't know, but we're not going to give you value.
Exactly.
If you think it's like one team is sneaky good, you're either going to have to go the whole way on one team if you want to get value on this. Sean, what's your reaction to this market for Knicks Pacers second round or in the conference finals?
Yeah, my initial reaction is I think everybody wants this matchup really badly. I think once it hit 3-1, all anyone talked about was, all right, we're on to Knicks Pacers. How awesome is this rematch of last year's second round? The Pacers are in the Eastern Conference Finals for back-to-back years. Get well soon, Jason Tatum. The Celtics franchise is in disarray. New owners, the second apron, and next thing you know, they go and take care of business. And it's like, wait a minute. I know the Knicks are favored to get this W, but they still have to get it. But it feels like everyone wants this matchup to be here already. Them hanging the number, I think, is pretty accurate. We talked about the market split with the Knicks versus the Pacers with Fiddle and Matt and myself the other night. Fiddle had it around minus 140. It's a little shorter than that. But if you look at the matchup in 3 games this year, I went and dug up some numbers I think are pretty fun just to go back through the matchup this year. They played 3 games. Knicks favored in all 3, 2-1 straight up and ATS. I think where there's going to be a really tough time in the market is creating a total that is going to be it's going to be hard to create a total in this matchup specifically that also is attached to playing playoff basketball. The smallest total in this matchup all year was 229, and it went 2-1 to the over. Game 1 was Knicks minus 4.5. They won by 25. Total was 229. Game 2, Knicks minus 3. They lost by 11. That was the one game it didn't cover. Total was 229.5. And if you go to the third game, the total was 242, and it went over. They scored 243 combined. Knicks covered the number. So the total, I'm very interested to see if we do get to this matchup in a game 1. Knicks coming off potentially even a 7-game. Then we could bring up that whole team coming off a 7-game series, but they'll have home court. What's the total like that look like in that matchup with the Pacers hanging out, well rested? We know what they look like in game 1 against the Cavs. Excuse me. The only note here, Mitch Robinson didn't played in just one game and hasn't really been Mitch until this playoff. So that's the outlier here for the Knicks. But see the market hung and it not be there is such a new age thing, especially for guys like us that have been betting for a long time. This never used to happen. This wasn't even a thing. Hanging numbers for a series that isn't even the matchup yet, that's like, that was unheard of. Now we're in an age where everyone wants to get ahead of the number, potentially being able to bet it. So I think the Knicks get it done tonight at the Garden as we record this on Friday at 3:20 p.m. Eastern. So I'm looking forward to that Pacers matchup if it does shake. But the price feels pretty dead on. It's about a coin flip series, in my opinion.
I got to do some film on this. Jalen Brunson had a plus 19 net rating in the regular season versus these Indiana Pacers. This is a much different Pacers team than they were when they faced them. But that number did be like, I was like, oh, he had a 130 offensive rating. That was a little concerning as somebody that really wants to bet the Indiana Pacers in this series. Brandon.
Yeah, and that's with Matt, and that's with one game where he got in foul trouble. I think he scored. He did. It wasn't an average game for Jalen Brunson. He got in foul trouble. He played like 22 or 23 minutes, if I recall correctly. So that's even with that in there. If you go to the 4 previous to that, 2 others, he absolutely smoked the Pacers all year. Karl-Anthony Towns played really well offensively as well.
Brandon, full season numbers, I'm going to run playoff adjusted before the series starts. Full season numbers, I make this Pacers minus 133 on the series line. So I'm going to have to be on Indiana. I like the matchup. I like the Pacers better. I think the Knicks are going to have the same. Like, the Knicks were built to beat the Celtics. That's why they were built, and they're on the verge of doing it. And then it's going to be like, we did it. Oh no! Here comes Tyrese Halliburton to fuck up your day. What is your reaction to the opening, the look ahead series line for the ECF?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I'm gonna answer your question with a question. I'm at Bet365 right now. I think this is the only book I've seen this up. A lot of books have the exact outcome that you can bet, but probably more between series. I know DraftKings usually has that. I only see it up at Bet365. Here are the exact outcome prices for the Pacers because they're pretty disparate from the series prices we're looking at. And I'm curious what either of you guys think of this. So you can bet Pacers one of 3 things, either to win the title 6-1. I got no comment on that. If you want Pacers, you're on your own. Godspeed. I'm interested in the other 2. The Pacers, if they don't win the championship, can either lose in the conference finals, which at Bet365 is minus 160. Minus 160 is very different than the numbers you just gave me for what a Pacers-Knicks series looks like.
Yeah.
And if the Pacers win the East but lose in the finals, so they're the runner-up, that's priced at plus 225. So unless you think the Pacers win and win the title, which it does not sound like any of us would feel great about, then betting them plus 225 to effectively win the East, then lose, that's a pretty good number. That may not be available later. And what minus 160 to be eliminated in the conference finals, what do we make of that? Like, does that imply... My question is, right now, the Knicks are not in the conference finals. They have to get there still. If they do, does that minus 160 get shorter or longer? Like, are they pricing in Boston to beat the Pacers or to lose to them? Because let's not forget, there's no Jason Tatum or Porzingis probably. So if I like this Pacers exact outcome angle now, or do I wait for the Knicks to finish? Or do I wait for the Celtics to finish? I don't really know what I make of this. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, it's really difficult because that's the whole new element of the new age. Like, hanging numbers when we don't have complete information is very difficult to figure out, because I thought it was really telling, guys, that Jason Tatum goes down, the world is ending. Every single person in the world is talking about Knicks Pacers. Celtics were minus 4.5, close almost 5 in some spots at the game going home. It was like, oh yeah, the Knicks are going to lose this game, but anyway, we're still talking about Knicks Pacers in the final. Like, so it's really difficult to try to parse out the numbers. The exact round elimination bet is very, very interesting because you have to take in the fact that there's still 3 teams left, but 1 is advanced and 2 haven't. It's really, really, really difficult. I think knowing the complete information in a lot of these spots is worth the maybe 15 to 20 cents that you may miss out on if you wait until the matchup is finalized. Similarly to, hey, I think it might be worth waiting. You might get clipped by a point, but how healthy is Aaron Gordon for the Nuggets?
Yeah. I think we Brandon, I think my reaction to this is DK's doing the opposite of what they did last year, where they opened that Celtics advance conference finals line and finals line, and we like obliterated it. We were all like, are you kidding me? Like, the Celtics were such a short number. I think DK's actually doing the opposite here. That's my read, is that based off of because there's not a huge differential between the series market at DraftKings and the series market at Bet365. It's about 5 cents off on Knicks and Celtics. There's not a huge differential there in terms of the probabilities. So this to me says that Knicks probably you're going to get a better number on Indy if you wait instead of getting ahead of this market now. I think we're probably likely to get a better number, a better plus number on Indy if we wait for that series price. That's my read.
Yeah, it's interesting because I live in Chicagoland. There are a lot of Pacers fans around here. A couple of my close friends are Pacers fans. Pacers fans want the Knicks. The Pacers fans are very confident in a Knicks series. Who they played last year, Pacers fans basically say the Knicks have never been comfortable with our pace or style of play. And the results on the court don't really say that that's not true. We'll at least start there. So I think stylistically, matchup wise, and that your numbers already like the Pacers, Matt, like, to me, given the way that this sets up as, again, apologies to the East, it seems like the best teams in the West and then the JV conference in the East. And then we're going to have a not as exciting finals preview when we get there. And that's what it seems like right now. I've seemed wrong on a bunch of these things, so we'll see when we get there. Matt, this is screaming out to me to be one of your like exact outcome things. I like Indy in the East. Who am I picking in the West? OKC over Indy. Make the exact bet. Minnesota over Indy. Make the exact bet. Like, this is the spot finally of, I know who I like on this side. I know who I like on this side. But more importantly, I know for sure who I like in the matchup at the end. Don't you dare bet OKC versus Indiana in the finals. Don't do that. You can bet the exact outcome for OKC to beat Indiana. And we all know that that's what you think will happen when it gets there for the extra juice. Like, to me, if with you, Matt, your confidence in Indiana going into the series, this is your spot. Like, this is the exact outcome spot for you.
Yeah. I mean, I need to log it. I bet OKC Indiana. I bet it, and you can get a better number because I bet it before
OKC to beat Indiana, right? Don't you dare bet OKC versus Indiana.
OKC, exact result. OKC to beat Indiana. There's ways to probably do this where you can cover all your bases, where it's like OKC to beat Indiana, Jalen Brunson finals MVP, and then just hedge against it with Shea. If you get to
now we got the Matt. Now we got it. Yeah. We got to get like 16 bets here. Get the whole
we got to make it too complicated and lose all of them. That's the Matt. Yeah, I think these questions are really fascinating. But we'll talk.
And really quick, last point here too.
Yeah,
I think the hatred for Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers is only going to grow, and I think any casual dollar, if it is Knicks Pacers, is going to come in on the New York Knicks. So that potentially, I know everyone hates on the public. You see it happen in the NFL all day long. Those greenbacks count just as much as the sharps. So I'm going to tell you right now, if there's going to be an opportunity to have a couple dollars on the Eastern Conference Finals, I think a lot of people will be dropping them in the New York Knicks bucket, and that could shift the number a touch.
That's a good point. To the last thing on MVP, I guess I don't know with Boston. I still, Matt, you're taking Boston more seriously than I am. With Tatum out and Porzingis basically out, I just don't know that they have a month left in them. I think they're the paper shredder thing as well. Of the other 4 teams, if you're betting an MVP bet, like we always do this, Jim Turby and I always talk about this, like, okay, do you bet the team or do you bet the MVP? Denver, Jokic. Oklahoma City, Shea. Minnesota, Ant. I know Julius Randle probably would win MVP this round. I know. Minnesota, Ant. Brunson for New York. I don't think it's Halliburton, Indiana, anywhere near that scope of things for those other teams. I do not think Halliburton is a proxy for Indiana at all. I think Siakam could win.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, Andrew Nembhard is 130-1 to win East MVP, not Finals MVP.
Yeah.
East MVP. Isn't that your Derek White bet? Isn't he the Derek White sort of version of Indiana? He's been playing so well. Like, Indiana to me screams out as outlier MVP, Jaylen Brown type winner.
I like Siakam as a matchup versus the Knicks. And honestly, well, and here's now that I'm thinking about it, no Tatum. They don't have any forwards. If the Celtics come back and get out of the series, which would be a very Knicks thing to do, like, who's guarding Siakam? Who are they putting on him? Like, KP with one lung? Horford? So, yeah, I mean, Siakam is probably... Siakam's 6-1 DK for Eastern Conference Finals MVP. That's I think pretty good value. I will go ahead and push back real briefly. I need to see the matchups. I'm not completely sold on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander Thunder. I am not completely sold on. I am sold on Jokic, no question.
Wow. Yeah, I think if you I hear actually Nembhard is 200-1 at Bet Rivers. If you want to, again,
Woo!
just for East MVP, I'm gonna put that in the app. I'm betting that.
The only problem
I think if I understand not being sold on Shai MVP. I think if you think Shai is not the MVP of a series you're looking at, you should not be backing Oklahoma City. That's what I think.
The only thing is, like, Nembhard didn't have a great series versus the Cavs, and they played a lot of drop versus him. They switched versus Hallie, and they dropped versus Nembhard, and I thought Nembhard would eat them alive, and he didn't. He's been good, but he hasn't been like last year.
He's just very
I'll
buzzy.
talk more about it. We'll see when we get there. All right. Brand's got bets for Game 7, and he's got so many that we actually Sean and I don't have to. Which, thank God, I'll give some out tomorrow. Because I don't know at this point. I don't know. I like, for those listening, if you want my reaction to having gone into our best bets episode on Nuggets, ready to go to war, and then whimpering away with my tail between my legs, taking Thunder and losing. This is me acknowledging that and being like, look. At this point, I'll tell you, if I had bet the Nuggets, the Thunder would have wrapped up last night and won by 20. That's how this is gone. So I will just tell you that, like, I'm not going to be, well, I'll be on a side probably for Game 7, but it's going to be like a very tentative kind of bet. Brandon, talk to me about what you want to bet in Game 7.
All right, so I'm going to start with just the old-fashioned Game 7 under. To me, that this is my best bet, and it's really a strong trends play. And I know how the Game 7 trend isn't the trend anymore. I think it is still. Let me give you some of the trends. At ESPN, 213.5 is the number, minus 105. So that's the bet I'm making, under 213.5. 3 trends. Number 1, Game 7 unders in the first round are not the thing anymore. Game 7 unders in the first round have not been profitable. Game 7 unders after round 1 since 2005, 25-10 to the under, 71% to the under still by 7 points a game. So after the first round, Game 7 unders have still been a thing. Game 7 unders when the series is going under. And how I'm defining that is, over the last 5 games, are we getting more unders or more overs? We're getting more unders in this series. Game 7 under in that scenario. Any round, 24-13, 65% to the under by 8 points a game. Dagnall, playoff unders so far for his career, 14-8 to the under, 64%. That's the trends. I don't trust Oklahoma City's offense right now. I don't trust the others to do stuff. I don't trust their threes to fall. I don't trust Denver to have guys. Like, I don't trust the points to happen in the series. I can think of a lot of different versions where Denver lays an egg and it's a blowout. And even though OKC scored, it still went under because Denver didn't score. I can think of just the grinded out Game 7 we always know between the trends and just my lacking confidence in either team's offense right now, I think the under is my best way to go here. Under 213.5. Thoughts on the Game 7 under?
Sean, hit me with your reaction there.
Yeah, I like that evaluation. I mean, it's dead on with flat out not trusting the path for the Oklahoma City Thunder winning this game at home. Crowd energy, role players contributing just enough, and then them standing on the defensive end. The whistle in this game is going to be very interesting because there was a lot of touch fouls, a lot of interesting. We had a little group text going in that game 6 of some antics, we'll call them, from a couple players on the floor. So the whistle will be interesting in this matchup. But I think overall, the path to victory for all year, for this series and for this Game 7 is going to be Oklahoma City absolutely stifling guys on defense, just like they did down the stretch in the fourth quarter in Game 5. And you have to lean on the high pressure. And this also plays into the fact where if Oklahoma City does end up losing the game and lays an egg, the Game 7 pressure on those role players crushes them, and they still can't score. That plays into the under as well. I agree with my guy, BA.
Keep going, Brandon.
All right. Give you a side here. I don't know that I trust this one. This is a very tentative play for me out of all my options here, but we want to give a side. I'm curious what you guys think of this. To me, the trend here goes against my instinct. My instinct is this stays kind of close throughout. Denver, again, has led into the fourth quarter. We'll see late. There's a side total or a side play here on Oklahoma City first half. The line is -4.5 pretty much everywhere you look. Here's the trend. Game 7, home first half after a double-digit loss. So that's Oklahoma City. They lost by 12. Since 2009, first half line, the home team is 17-3 against the spread. 17-3. And let me tell you about the 3. One of them was Indiana and New York when they just blew the doors off and couldn't miss a bucket. One of them was Dallas Phoenix when Phoenix was the 1 seed and it was they got hit with the plague and they scored 12 first half points. Those are 2 of the 3 losses when they're just stunning. Oh my gosh, the other team just touched the face of God and couldn't miss shots all half. This trend is virtually unbeaten other than just crazy things happening that, okay, we just got embarrassed last game, show up, save the season, come out in the first half and get it. -4.5. That's a pretty strong trend, but goes in the face of what I would have thought was expecting to happen here. Matt, you like the trends sometimes. What do you think of this one?
Okay, so this is a really interesting one. So one of the keys that I found when doing all the trends is it really depends. We got to remove round 1 because round 1 winds up with a lot of 4-5s, 2-7s that don't belong there. Frauds get exposed. You weed out all of those teams in the first round and you get to the good teams for the most part in the second round. There's always exceptions. Brandon would say the Knicks, but there's always exceptions to those kind of things. So here's a good example of this. And then we'll come back to the first half line. So if we look at if we go after round 1 at home and you lost the last game, because I actually really like the spot of, okay, it's 3-2. They got Game 6, their last game on their home court. How are you? After round 1, they're 12-11 straight up. Not great. And they're 9-14 against the spread. So they actually don't cover full game. And these trends actually happen over and over again after round 1, where it's no, they win the game, but they don't cover in these kind of spots because and that was surprising to me because honestly, in the first round, it's the opposite where these Game 7s are blowouts. That's what was really interesting to me. So going back to the first half trend, if you win the first half, okay, previous game was a loss, you're at home, and you're favored by more than a possession. Because that to me is a marker here, more than a possession. We cut down the sample on this significantly, and I get that. 7-3 straight up, 4-6 ATS for the full game. So they don't even. It's why would you take first half and not the full? This is a pretty consistent thing here. Of no, they win this game outright, but they don't cover the full game. But they can cover that halftime line, and that makes intuitive sense to me. Of the team that just lost comes out. They hit first, the other team's catching up, and might make a desperate run at the end to get under the number. but they don't win the game outright. So I actually, Brandon, I think that the -4.5, if you're going to take Thunder, might be the better play than taking OKC -7.5. Even with the Matt Mitchell rule, this is the exception. Is this spot right here. Two good teams, game 7, the other team fought off elimination. This is actually the spot where I think first half might be better than OKC full game.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And it might be that Oklahoma City covers the first half and covers the full game too. That's fine. It might still be that this is the more confident bet of the two to make, that you don't have to mess with the 7.5 later where the 4.5 is a little sure. As far as you mentioned, like the first round, removing that trend I mentioned goes to 11-2 if you take out the first round results. So basically it still stays just as strong, the two as those two series that I mentioned.
I literally have another of my 7,000 podcasts I have to go do. So I need you to rip through these, and Sean and I are going to give a one sentence answer, yes or no, on the remainder of your incredible best bets.
And the remainder of my 7 props. Okay. How much time do I have? Am I doing like 10 seconds on each?
I need you to think about how much you usually say on each prop.
How much
cut
time?
It down by 85%.
Oh my God. What the heck?
No, just you can give me the cap, just that Sean and I will weigh in quickly.
All right. So I'm going to go through a bunch of props here for you. Nikola Jokic has played in 6 game 7s. This is his 7th game 7 in 16 playoff series, which is ridiculous. The man loves to get to a game 7. So I looked at all the numbers, trying to find, like, that's enough to find some trends in the numbers. And I'm going to give you a few props that effectively back the whole thing with, I don't trust you to actually efficiently do stuff, but I do trust you to try to do stuff. So Jokic in 4 competitive game 7s, so 2 of them have been easy wins. 4 competitive game 7s, 20.5 points, 15.3 rebounds, 5.8 assists. 2 things stand out for me. Over 21.5 field goal attempts. You can't bet field goal attempts everywhere. He's gone over that for the 6 games of series. He's gone way over it all 4 competitive game 7s. He's aggressive. He's taken the shots. He's taken 23, 26, 26, 28 in those. He's not as efficient because it's game 7 and it's tough and it's been a drag out war and the unders. So he's not making more. He's taking more. Over 20.5 field goals, and he's stepping up his defense. Over 2.5 steals plus blocks, -145. He's averaging 3 stocks per game against Oklahoma City. He's over that in 10 of 13, and he's over 3 stocks per game in the game 7s. Thoughts on either one of those Jokic game 7 overs?
Sean, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up for me because I'm never going to fade Jokic, but one thing that jumps out is he's only played one of those game 7s on the road. So this is going to be a raucous environment in Oklahoma City. Keep an eye on that. The numbers are there's a big disparity in the numbers for home and road in this playoffs for the Nuggets.
And it's actually it's none on the road. It's a that was a bubble road, I think, too.
Yeah. Thumbs down for me on the field goal attempts. If OKC is smart, they're going to send the absolute house at him, and he will be like, I have to pass. They're open. I have to pass. If that's the game script. Thumbs up for the stocks. His defense has absolutely been tremendous in the series. His defense may have been better than his offense on the whole for the entire series. He's been phenomenal in that. He was not good in like the first 4 games of the series. That's like he was not good from 2 through.
He was not Jokic good.
He was not good through 2 through 4. He was not good. He was not good.
Okay.
In 2 through
Here's
4.
my other 2 nuggets. These are my. I don't really trust Aaron Gordon and MPJ to do enough stuff. So who else can play? Christian Brown and Russell Westbrook. Christian Brown over 4.5 3-point attempts. Last 4 games, 6, 9, 8, 6. He's getting the shots up. That's Oklahoma City. They want that. The Thunder want Christian Brown shooting the threes. His floor is 4 this series. He's going to play a ton, like all the minutes he can. Over 4.5 3-point attempts. Russell Westbrook over 6.5 field goal attempts. He's literally hit that every playoff game other than the one that he left after like 6 minutes. Now, I know he's down to 20 and 17 minutes the last 2 games. I know we don't want him out there. I know Denver doesn't want him out there. They're out of bodies. Like if Gordon and MPJ can't give them that much, it's got to be Russell Westbrook. And we all know if he's out there, he's taking the shot. Christian Brown, over 4.5 3-point attempts. Westbrook, over 6.5 field goal attempts. Sean, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Westbrook's confidence never wavers. I think when he's out on the floor, regardless if they're hitting all backboard or not. He's going to continue to get him up. And then, yes, I like Christian Brown coming off one of the best games he's ever had in the playoffs. That volume will be there. He will continue. He's going to be the guy that leads them in minutes, most likely.
You're too supportive, Sean. Brown, I'll give a thumbs down to. He's record scratching really bad. I understand the attempts have been there. He's starting to overthink it every single time. I see him hesitating on these threes more and more every game. He's gotten more of those types of attempts. I honestly think that there's a chance in Game 7, Christian of all players might be the one that's like, I can't take this three. I got to try and redirect the offense so we get a better look. Russ, that's a huge. There's no way. Like, how could this possibly lose? He said. Hit me with your last two on OKC.
All right, last two. I could not find a lot I liked on Oklahoma City. I'm not even playing Shea assists anymore. We're going to sit fine on our series leader and just hope we cash that. Two role players that I think are going to play some. Alex Caruso. This is the game you finally let Alex play as many minutes as he can. Whatever that is it 30? Could he hit 30 possibly? I don't know. Over 7.5 points for Caruso. He had 2 in the huge blowout because they didn't need him. But otherwise, he's averaged 12 points a game in the series. Not a huge number. Over 7.5 is also not a huge number. He's going to get some buckets. 10 points is plus 158. He's hit that 4 of the 5 games other than the blowout. So I like that for Caruso. And then we got to end it the way we just were at the last home game. The Dortscalator. Lou Dort. Over 2.5 threes, plus 124. He's gone over 2.5 threes in 9 of the last 11 home games, 60% home games on the season. 4 threes is plus 310. He's done that 6 of the last home games, 37% on the season. Again, Russell Westbrook advisory here. The minutes are fading. 19 and 21 minutes, 2 of the last 3 games. I don't really think you want to go a safe route on Dort. He could just miss a couple of shots early, look terrible, and be gone, like out of the rotation. If he hits, this to me, of all the things we've said, this is the last one. If you want to build a same game parlay, and we know you love parlays, if you like Oklahoma City, maybe you like the first half thing on Oklahoma City, Dort hitting threes is a pretty good indicator that stuff is going well for the Thunder. So that's a good one to add in there. Caruso, points over. Dort's, threes over. Sean, thumbs up or down?
I'm leveraged on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's hit them all. Let's go Caruso. Let's go Dort. I will say this. Why aren't we just not? I know I do like the under, and I'm with you on that aspect. Why aren't we looking at SGA in points? I mean, I think this is a really good spot where he could get potentially a favorable whistle at the crib. He's going to take a lot of shots. And if we're talking about guys being shy and we're worried about role players offensively, 31, the number's 30.5 at FanDuel, minus 118. SGA could be in that realm by the end of the third quarter.
It's Game 7. They're gonna throw they'll throw the kitchen sink at him. He might be gassed. I think that's kind of the risk here. It could be like the moment. If you want to buy the narrative, I think that's a really great one. Thunder money line, Caruso 9+ points, Lou Dort 3+ threes, plus 420 at DraftKings. Same game parlay. Is there any way that this is highly correlated? Is there any way that Caruso scores 9+ points, Dort hits 3 threes, and the Thunder don't win a Game 7?
Is it highly correlated, or is Dort being bad the reason why Caruso is good and he takes Dort's minutes directly? Is there a negative correlation possibly building in there?
No, because I think if Dort's bad, they're going to play more Case and Wallace is what they'll do. Yeah. They'll just go 3 guards is what I would say. That's going to do it for Buckets. Great conversation today. Appreciate you guys being with us. David Payne is our producer. He's the best. He's the man. Giver Gould's our guy at youtube.com/The Action Network. Catch us on Saturday at noon. You can get the rest of my best bets on Game 7, as well as Brandon Kravitz, who's been all over the series. Follow Sean Little on Twitter at Chicago Flow, and Brandon at Wheaton Brando in the Action Network app, as well as on Twitter. We'll see you guys again.
BA, can we get a go, Knicks?
Go away, Knicks.
Till next time, let's get buckets.